Welcome, miladies, of inestimable value. When a Sigma female finally loses it, it's not the kind of meltdown that's loud, dramatic, or full of empty threats. It's a quiet earthquake, the kind that reshapes landscapes and leaves a trail of silent devastation. Studies show that people with highly independent, introspective personalities are less likely to express their anger publicly, preferring instead to simmer in silence until something pushes them over the edge. And when that edge is crossed, it's game over. It's like watching a nuclear power plant go critical. Not a single sound, but you just know the blast radius will be massive. For everyone who thought she was too calm to ever snap, buckle up. Because when a Sigma female has had enough, the fallout is legendary, and it's almost always quietly brutal. Number 1. Silence goes from strong to deafening. When a Sigma female finally hits her breaking point, her silence isn't just any silence, it's a message wrapped in steel. She doesn't need to yell, cry, or throw a scene. Her response is a kind of silence that sinks in slowly, like the calm before a massive storm. She's not thinking of clever comebacks or finding ways to make you feel bad. She's simply choosing to withdraw every ounce of her energy, and that absence feels like a void you didn't know could exist. This isn't the silent treatment some people give to get a reaction. It's a wall of silence that feels final. It's the difference between someone taking a break and someone disappearing entirely from your radar. She doesn't have to explain why she's done or tell you what's wrong. She just lets the silence do the work. And oddly enough, this lack of noise has a way of making people nervous. It's like they can sense they've been cut off, but they can't quite understand how or when it happened. The thing is, by the time a Sigma female goes quiet like this, she's already made up her mind. Every word left unsaid is a reminder that you're no longer worth her peace, her attention, or her thoughts. And let's be honest, it's probably the quietest mic drop you'll ever experience. When she walks away without a word, that silence sticks. It's louder than any argument, more unsettling than any insult. She's made herself perfectly clear, without making a sound. In a world full of noise, her silence is more powerful than 100 shouting matches. It's a reminder that she doesn't need to prove her point because she already knows you've heard it loud and clear. Number 2, emotionally cuts off without warning. When a Sigma female reaches her breaking point, she doesn't just pull back emotionally. She practically flips a switch from caring to stone cold in seconds. It's like someone pushed a button and her emotions simply vanished. This isn't an act or a play for sympathy. It's her mind's way of protecting her peace. She's given what she could, and now she's shutting down fully and unapologetically. This shift can feel almost surreal, especially to anyone who's only known her as thoughtful and steady. One minute, she's listening intently, giving people the benefit of the doubt and handling issues with patience. The next, it's like a door has slammed shut. She'll look at you the same way you might look at an overdrawn bank account, dispassionate, unimpressed, and unwilling to invest a single penny more. Her compassion, which was once warm and genuine, goes ice cold, and that warmth is reserved exclusively for people who actually value it. Here's the kicker. She doesn't care if you notice the shift because she didn't turn cold to make a point. She's done it because she's actually genuinely done. Her emotional shutdown is more like a full system reboot. This isn't a "I'll come around in a few days" kind of thing. When a Sigma female decides to pull the plug, she's already factored in the cost and determined it's simply not worth the drain on her energy. Some might mistake this as heartless, but it's the ultimate act of self-preservation. If people pushed her there, that's on them, not her. She's not cruel, just highly efficient at cutting off what drains her peace. And if you think that's harsh, well, she'd probably just nod and keep moving without a second thought. Number 3, turns hyper-logical, almost to a scary degree. When a Sigma female reaches her limit, she shifts into a hyper-logical mode that can be a bit intimidating. This isn't just a change in attitude, it's like she's activated a different part of her brain, the one that doesn't care about making others feel comfortable. Emotions are shut down, empathy takes a back seat, and her focus zeroes in on cold, hard logic. If you're on the receiving end of this, buckle up because she's about to make some decisions that won't involve you in the slightest. It's almost scary how quickly she can switch from warm and understanding to ruthlessly pragmatic. She starts seeing everything as a calculation: risks, benefits, outcomes. And if a situation or a person doesn't add up to something worth her energy, they're out, plain and simple. There's no drawn-out debate, no back and forth, just a swift, emotionless decision. Her relationships, her work, her environment, all of it goes under a microscope, and anything that doesn't serve her is cut without hesitation. This logic-driven approach doesn't mean she's being cold-hearted. It's her way of preserving her mental and emotional bandwidth. She's highly selective about where she invests her energy, and when she's hit her breaking point, she's done wasting it on anything or anyone that drains her. Her mindset becomes shockingly clear-cut. Only what strengthens her stays. Everything else is irrelevant. People might find this approach unsettling, but that doesn't bother her. She's not here to play nice. She's here to stay true to herself. And if that means being hyper-logical to the point of seeming ruthless, so be it. At this stage, she's done explaining or making excuses. She's protecting her peace, and her actions reflect that no matter how blunt or final they seem. And honestly, she's okay with anyone who can't handle it. Number 4. Destroys with precision, not chaos. When a Sigma female decides to confront someone, it's not an explosion of wild accusations or heated shouting. She doesn't waste time or energy on chaos. Instead, she's calculated, cold, and frighteningly precise. Every word she chooses has a purpose. Every observation she makes cuts straight to the heart of the issue. She's not there to let off steam. She's there to make her point with the kind of accuracy that leaves a lasting mark. Her confrontation style is more like a scalpel than a hammer. She picks apart the situation with unsettling clarity, honing in on the exact flaws, inconsistencies, and contradictions that need addressing. If you've crossed a line or made a mistake, she'll identify it with pinpoint accuracy and lay it bare in a way that leaves no room for defense. She doesn't waste her breath on petty insults or random criticisms. She chooses her words carefully, like a skilled strategist planning an attack. And because she's calm and in control, her words land with the weight of undeniable truth. This approach can be disarming, even shocking. There's no frantic shouting or exaggerated anger to hide behind. It's just her, delivering facts with a coolness that's impossible to dismiss. If you thought you'd get an emotional outburst, you're sorely mistaken. The power in her confrontation lies in its restraint. It's exactly as brutal as it needs to be, nothing more, nothing less. By the time she's finished, there's usually nothing left to say. She's made her point so clearly that trying to argue or justify feels pointless. And that's exactly her intention. She doesn't just want to win the argument. She wants to make sure there's nothing left to argue about. When she confronts, she doesn't just close the case. She locks it airtight, making sure it stays shut for good. Number 5. Locks down her energy like a vault. When a Sigma female decides she's done, her energy becomes untouchable. It's like she's built an invisible vault around herself, and no amount of pushing or prying will get you through it. You could be sitting right next to her, but the distance feels like miles. She's physically present, but her energy is locked away, sealed off in a place you can't access, and she's perfectly fine keeping it that way. This isn't some temporary wall or a momentary mood. She's pulled her energy inward, creating a fortress so strong it feels like another dimension entirely. People around her might sense the shift but can't quite grasp it. They'll feel the coldness, the emotional distance, but there's no way to break through. She's fortified her boundaries, and any attempts to get close will hit a solid, unyielding wall. And here's the real kicker. She didn't just build this fortress out of anger or bitterness. She's doing it out of self-respect. Her energy is her most valuable asset, and when she feels it's been taken for granted, she pulls it back with the kind of finality that's impossible to ignore. Only those who've genuinely proven their worth, who've shown they respect her boundaries, might ever get access again. And even that's no guarantee. The shift is so profound that, to those who don't understand, it's baffling. But she's not concerned about being understood. Her priority is preserving her peace. She's drawn her line in the sand and she won't budge. So if you feel like you're on the outside looking in, it's because you are. And with her energy locked down like this, that's exactly where she intends for you to stay. Number 6. reclaims control with unapologetic brutality. When a Sigma female's autonomy is threatened, she doesn't just quietly reclaim control. She takes it back with a force that's unyielding and, frankly, a little intimidating. She's given chances, she's tolerated missteps, but once her patience runs out, she shifts into a mode that leaves no room for compromise. Her boundaries aren't suggestions, they're non-negotiable terms. And if anyone, be it a friend, family member, or employer, tries to trample on her sense of peace, she won't hesitate to sever the connection. For her, this isn't about anger, it's about self-respect. She's fiercely protective of her independence and isn't interested in waiting around for others to get it. When she feels her space is being encroached on, she'll act swiftly and with laser focus, cutting off anything or anyone who brings chaos into her life. There's no drama, no drawn-out explanations, and absolutely no apologies. She simply decides what's necessary for her peace and moves forward, unbothered by what others might think. Once her boundaries are back in place, there's no re-entry. She doesn't waste time with second chances or renegotiations. Her decision is final, and she'll defend it with a quiet, steely resolve that's hard to challenge. If people find this cold, she sees it as clarity. She knows exactly what she needs, and she's done compromising. The reset isn't temporary or conditional. It's a complete reclaiming of her space, and from then on, she's fully in charge. This unapologetic approach may seem brutal, but to her, it's essential. It's how she maintains her peace and ensures her independence. She won't bend, she won't explain, and she certainly won't be held back. This is her life, and she's determined to live it on her own terms. No exceptions. Number 7 throws out every unnecessary connection. When a Sigma female hits her breaking point, she goes into full purge mode, and it's shockingly efficient. This isn't fueled by anger or spite. It's a clean, strategic sweep of anyone who's no longer serving a real purpose in her life. Friends, acquaintances, even family members who are floating along without genuine impact are swiftly, unapologetically removed from her inner circle. She's assessing everyone with a practical eye, and if your presence hasn't contributed positively or meaningfully, you're getting cut. In this mode, she's ruthless. There's no emotional tug-of-war or inner debate about who stays and who goes. Anyone who is already on her mental maybe list is quickly and confidently shifted to a solid no. It's like she's updating her personal ledger, and if a connection doesn't add value, it's deemed a liability. And here's the thing, she does it without hesitation, because for her, this isn't personal. It's about simplifying her life, removing any noise that distracts from her peace or progress. This approach can seem cold to those who don't understand it, but to her, it's just smart. Her peace and independence are priorities, and unnecessary connections, people who drain her energy or linger without real purpose, are obstacles to that. She's not interested in relationships that sit in limbo or in maintaining contacts just for the sake of it. Her inner circle is small, and each person there has earned their spot. Anyone who's just tagging along won't make the cut, and once they're out, there's no going back. This purge isn't a temporary reaction, it's her way of clearing the path and making room only for what truly matters. Number 8, becomes intimidatingly calm. When a Sigma female is truly done, she doesn't explode or storm out. She sinks into a calmness that can be downright unnerving. She's reached a place where the chaos no longer touches her, and anyone around can feel it. There's no frustration in her eyes, no tension in her voice. She's so still, so collected, that it's unsettling. It's a clear signal that whatever pushed her to this point has lost its power over her entirely. This isn't the calm before the storm. This is the calm that comes after she's crossed an invisible line. She's detached, unbothered, and razor-focused. Those around her might feel a chill, not because she's angry, but because she's beyond anger. She's entered a level of control that's rare and absolute, like she's wrapped herself in an invisible barrier that keeps all drama at a distance. There's no trace of the usual signs of stress or frustration. Instead, it's a silence that makes people tread lightly, a stillness that says, "I've already moved on, and there's nothing left here for me." This type of calm isn't an act, it's her natural response when she's reached her limit. By the time she gets to this stage, she's already decided what matters to her and what doesn't. She's fully in control, not just of her actions, but of her emotions too. She's untouchable, and everyone around her can feel it. It's a presence that demands respect without a single word, a calm that's sharper than any confrontation. At this point, whatever issue or person triggered her calm is irrelevant. They're no longer part of her world, and her energy won't be wasted there. She's made her choice, and she's at peace with it, leaving others to feel the weight of her unwavering calm. Number 9. Self-isolates to regenerate, not to sulk. When a Sigma female retreats into isolation after a meltdown, it's not because she's sulking or wallowing in self-pity, far from it. It's a calculated move to regenerate, to hit the reset button, and to distance herself from whatever or whoever pushed her to the edge. She knows exactly what she's doing. It's her way of recharging her energy, of clearing her mind, and shedding the emotional baggage that came with the situation. Her solitude isn't a cry for attention or a passive-aggressive tactic. It's her method of self-care. She's not in a place where she wants to deal with others or their reactions. She's doing the work of recalibrating herself, reflecting on what went wrong, and figuring out how to move forward without the weight of toxicity lingering around her. It's about creating space where she can think clearly, regain her composure, and re-establish her boundaries. This isolation is a reset. There's no time for lingering in negative emotions. She knows that in order to come back stronger, she needs time away from the chaos, away from the people and situations that drain her. The silence becomes her therapy. It's a process of reflection, not regret, where she clears out the mental clutter, finds her center again, and emerges with an even sharper sense of purpose. She's not running away. She's stepping back to move forward. By the time she's done, she's left the drama behind, and anything that doesn't align with her peace is no longer a factor. She's reset, stronger, and ready to reclaim her space, with no need to explain herself to anyone. Number 10. Redirects all her energy into self-improvement. When a Sigma female decides to channel her energy into self-improvement after being pushed too far, it's like watching a force of nature at work. She doesn't waste time sulking, seeking revenge, or dwelling on what went wrong. Instead, she takes all the emotional energy, every bit of frustration, anger, or disappointment, and transforms it into pure fuel for growth. It's almost like she's been handed a challenge, and rather than breaking down, she turns it into an opportunity to level up. She dives into learning, refining skills, and strengthening her mind. Books, courses, new projects, nothing is off the table when she's on a mission to elevate herself. It's the kind of transformation that's both visible and invisible. While others might expect her to crumble, she's quietly sharpening herself in the background, becoming smarter, sharper, and more capable in ways that are almost unfair. Those who underestimated her are in for a rude awakening when she emerges. Because when she comes back, she's not just back to where she was, she's light years ahead. The best part? She doesn't just bounce back stronger. She becomes nearly untouchable. The emotional baggage has been shed, and now she's operating on a higher level, moving with purpose, and more selective about where she directs her energy. The people who pushed her to this point, they won't even recognize the new version of her, and that's exactly how she wants it. She's turned their attempts to undermine her into the very fuel that powers her next stage of greatness. When a Sigma female redirects her energy into self-improvement, it's a quiet storm. She'll be smarter, stronger, and a lot harder to reach than ever before. When a Sigma female loses it, it's not the end of her, far from it. It's the moment she steps into a new realm of control, self-awareness, and unshakable independence. She doesn't crumble, seek attention, or beg for sympathy. She recalibrates. She turns frustration into fuel, isolation into regeneration, and every emotional setback into the raw material for her next level of evolution. By the time she emerges from the ashes, she's stronger, sharper, and a force that others didn't see coming. Her journey after losing it isn't about revenge or chaos. It's about returning to herself, reclaiming her peace, and refusing to settle for anything less than the life she knows she deserves. So the next time you think you've pushed a Sigma female to the brink, understand one thing. What you're witnessing isn't the end. It's the beginning of something even more powerful. She'll be back, and she'll be better than ever. If you've made it this far, you've witnessed just a glimpse of the power and resilience that lies within a Sigma female. And trust me, there's so much more where that came from. If you want to dive deeper into the world of unapologetic strength, self-mastery, and all things extraordinary, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what's coming next. And I promise, it's going to be a game changer. Stay tuned, stay strong, and let's keep leveling up together. Subscribe now, and don't let the journey end here. Thanks for watching, Jules. See you in the next video. Bye for now, and stay blessed.